When you hear of 4x4 vehicles and off-roading, what comes to mind? This huge car, right?
Mud.
Big tires. Mud. Car raised. Shock absorbers just, breathing, Maybe it even has the exhaust that are up, not down, right? And then now you think of the person who's driving it. It's a big person. Our next guest is a big person, drives big cars. Her name is Winnie Maru. Winnie is a 4x4 and off-road enthusiast. Good morning, Winnie.
Good morning.
Welcome to March.
Oh, thank you. Welcome to the Women's Month.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And that's part of the reason why you're here. So you are a 4x4 enthusiast. What does that mean?
So in short, it means that I love those big cars that Ndu has talked about. I love going off-road, not sticking to tarmac, going to where tarmac ends. That's really, in short, what it means. Yes.
Going beyond the tarmac.
Going beyond the tarmac,
and
yes.
Getting stuck in the mud.
Yes, getting stuck in the mud.
All right.
That's fun.
That's what we'll be talking about shortly to get to understand that city. Please welcome her with the day's proverb.
Yes, that I will. Our proverbs for the whole of this week have been from the country of Benin. Okay. Death is certain, but does not make one sleep in the grave.
Death is certain, but does not make one sleep in the grave. Winnie, what's your interpretation of this one?
I'm a Christian, so I look at it from that, from a religious angle, that you only go there for a very short time as we wait for the return of Christ. So I wouldn't call it sleep, because sleep is something that you go to bed and you wake up. But death, you really don't wake up. It's gone, until Christ himself tells you to wake up. There's no waking up. So I look at it from that angle. Yes.
So it
is certain, but it is not sleep. Just as he has said, it's not sleep.
Isn't it fascinating? The way proverbs resonate with the people. The diversity of resonation is as diversity as mankind or people kind. I mean, I had not looked at it that way at all. Yes. But it's good, thank you.
So how had you looked at it?
Well, you're going to die anyway, but you don't have to go practicing death by going to sleep in the grave.
Well, there are people who practice death. They actually sleep completely. It's hard to wake them up. I know a few.
In the grave, though?
No. As in waking them up on an ordinary morning is difficult.
You know a couple?
Yeah, I know a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, waking them up is not difficult at all.
There's just very heavy sleep.
No, it's not even heavy sleep. There are people who are determined not to wake up.
They're hearing you, Winnie.
Yes, they're listening.
Ask them to tell you whether they can actually hear you at that moment.
They hear you.
They hear you.
Okay.
Yes, and you turn and they turn. How are they turning if they don't hear you?
They will tell. They'll give you feedback after this show.
Yes.
When next you meet them and try to wake them up, they'll be like, nilikuwa nasikia. So you, Winnie, and other people,
yes,
at this particular time,
yes,
other women are participating in an off-road competition. All of you driving one vehicle or in one vehicle.
Yes.
Take us through that.
Okay, so this event is called the Rhino Charge. The Rhino Charge is an event that has been held for the last 34 years. It happens every Madaraka Day weekend. So luckily this year, Madaraka Day is actually falling on a Saturday. But sometimes it falls, it can be on a Friday or Tuesday. So usually during that weekend, the Rhino Charge happens. The Rhino Charge is an event that is done to raise funds for conservation, to protect Kenya's water towers. It started first in the Aberdares. That was in 1989. There was 31 cars competing in 1989. And at the time, of course, it was to stop the human wildlife conflict, the rhino population within the Aberdares. But the Aberdares has been fenced off. They've moved to the Mount Kenya ecosystem, and now they're in the Mau. So for several years, for many years, me and my friends have been attending the Rhino Charge for at least, the last 20 years. So we go every year as spectators, and it's fun because we are, first of all, we are members of a club called Bund Rovers. And if you know Bund Rovers, it's a Land Rover club. It's a 4x4 club. In fact, the only registered 4x4 club in Kenya. So we're a registered club. In fact, we had our AGM on Saturday. So from that interest, that grew. And over the years of attending, then, we decided last year, why don't we actually enter our team? What is it that these people are doing that we can't do? Of course, majority of the teams are men. There's very few totally female teams. We do know, in fact, one has actually been paired with us as our mentors. It's called Bush Babes. They're car number 39. So last year we registered. The new entrants have to register on the 1st of September. So we registered. We are car number 50. As you can see from my t-shirt, where team name is Zambarao, Heels on Wheels. Zambarao is the color purple. And I'm actually glad that that as you start the month of March, purple is actually the color of women and the month of March. So I'm really glad that I am here on the 1st of March. We are a purple team. Zambarao is actually purple in Swahili, Heels on Wheels, and we're car number 50. So, of course, every team has to raise a certain amount of money to compete, because remember, the objective is conservation. So, we are here, we've built the car. The car that we have is a Range Rover, the 2-door classic, a V8 engine. So yes, it's loud with, just as she said, exhausts up there. It's really loud.
Petrol driven?
Yes, petrol, of course, yes. For this, you need a lot of power. And just as City, I heard him say earlier, they drive through trees and rocks and all that. But the idea is to ensure that the communities around there also understand the need for conservation. And I'll even give an example of Bund Rovers, just as a club as ourselves. Every trip that we have done, even when we go to the outdoors, there's an element of CSR to it, and a lot of it has conservation. We've planted trees, we've fenced off, like some years back we went to Jipe. We fenced off the school there because of the elephants that were cutting through the school, so kids can't go to school because there's elephants. So we did a perimeter wall for them. We plant trees wherever it is we go. We've been fortunate enough that Kenya Forest Service has given us a portion at Kinale Forest that will be going in 2 weeks' time.
So you have this responsibility.
Yes.
So even this club, the Bund Rovers and all the others 4x4 groupings, they're male dominated.
Yes.
So what drove you into it?
Just interest.
What made you feel that you want to be driving these big cars? I mean, what is it?
Interest. Yes, a lot of
Where
it has
did it come
to do.
from? Is it your upbringing, neighborhood as you grew up?
Well, let's say that, in fact, and I look at it from a holistic point of view, and not just me as Winnie, but just generally everybody. A lot of this interest that is in 4x4s, a lot of it has been driven mainly due to rural-urban migration. So you come from a setting where there's trees and there's a lot of nature around you, and then you move to an urban setting where that is not there. So what happens is you then go out of your way to look for that kind of
for the bush.
Yes, the bush. Where you can actually be one with nature and commune with nature. Because you can see in the way we have a lot of concrete dwellings around here. Sometimes you just want to be out there and chill and just enjoy nature. Now, a lot of those places you will find are in rugged landscapes where then you can't go with your ordinary car. So that has definitely built an interest in that. Yes, so with time, because as I said, like Bund Rovers is a Land Rover club, in as much as now we do have people with other mix of cars that I shall not mention, but we are largely Land Rover. So yes, so I drive a Land Rover. Actually, all of us in that team do have Land Rovers.
Why Land Rover?
We like the Defender. It's a hardy car. It can do the bush, very well. It is. It's a fantastic car.
Do you ever get up and do a bush trip by yourself? Like, can you get up, get into the vehicle and feel, I need to unwind. Get into your vehicle, go look for a tree, climb a tree, look for a rock, hide under the rock, park there, sleep there, come back after a weekend.
Yes, I have done that. Not very far, not very much bush, but I have done that. Yes, a couple of times. But I have a family, so we would do that with the kids. So we introduced them to that kind of life pretty early. In the same way, I think I also grew up going to parks. Our parents took us to a number of these parks. So we did travel quite a bit into the parks. And then you get to realize that as time goes by, you need a proper car. So probably maybe that's where it started. So I have family, so
it's a costly hobby.
It is a costly hobby. You're right. Yes, I mean, just you for a lot of these places, you can't go into a showroom, buy a car, and take it to some of the kind of places that would ordinarily go to. And those are what you call stock cars. So you'd have to, change your shocks, change your suspension sometimes. Have big tires. Because your ordinary everyday tires are, like probably maybe a radial tire. So you'd have to have like mud terrains, you'd have to have all-terrain tires. So yes, it is a costly hobby. But just like all, I don't think there's a hobby that is free or cheap. I mean, I imagine you play tennis.
They're cheap hobbies.
Have you tried sleeping?
Sleeping, you just actually have to close your eyes.
Just that.
Yes. You don't even have to find a bed.
No, you don't.
And you enjoy that.
Exactly.
When you say that there's a minimal amount that one must raise, it's like an entry fee.
Yes.
How much is it?
So for beginners who are like for us in that category, we the minimum that we must raise is 750,000 to be able to participate. Yes.
Okay.
But people bring in, like last year, I think the team that raised the highest, I think, was car number 44, and they raised something like 62 million. Yes.
How are you able to ensure that this money that's raised from this activity actually goes towards, the thing that you're raising it for? Because there's two aspects to this, really, isn't it? When we see this off-road challenge, it's fun to watch. I mean, for those who are on the other side of the steering, or maybe outside the vehicle, it's really fun to watch and see the whole drama around it. But then also it's being done for a good cause. So there's a fun aspect, but then it's also the point of making sure that there's conservation happening. After the races, as it were, who then is responsible for making sure that, what you set out to do is actually done?
So the money that you raise, you actually channel it to the Rhino Arc Trust.
Okay.
Yes. So it's, so even as we get a sponsor, the sponsor can decide maybe a certain amount can go to the car or the team. Usually that's like 10 or maximum like 20%, but 70% of that actually goes to Rhino Arc because it's very clear that you're raising money towards that cause and not necessarily to yourselves as a team. Yes.
How do you determine the route the torturous route that you must navigate through?
And that's a very good question. So what happens is nobody knows. In fact, even as we speak, we do not know the venue for this year.
Who does?
So the organizers alone. So that venue is given, or rather the general area will be revealed to all teams like a week to the event.
Why?
But to make it as challenging. Yes, of course, it's within our borders. To make it as challenging as possible. So a week to the event, let me give a good example. So you can either be told that, so all of you'll all be given the information at the same time, and you'll be told something like it is in Samburu. So that's a week to the event, and you get your route notes like 5-6 days to the event. So Samburu is huge. So they could easily say, the place that you will be reporting to pick up your route notes could be maybe Isiolo. So you pick up your route notes from there on, a few days to the event. You pick up your route notes, and there will be the base headquarters at a certain place. So you get there like 3 or 4 days to the event, to the charge. Now, the night before, that is on Friday, all teams, after scrutineering is done, all teams will then assemble.
What is scrutineering?
So scrutineering is where now the car, is checked to ensure, just like the way that the rally one does. They just check that the car has all the basics in terms of safety. It has, first aid kits. It has everything that is required. The GPS monitor will be fixed on the car because they have to monitor as you move through the course. Then, they will check which category. So they'll check a number of requirements that you have met, because there are 3 categories. For us, we're entering the unmodified category. So there's unmodified, there's modified, and then there's super modified. So that you're actually within that category, because then if you have done a bit more changes to your car, you would move from unmodified to modified. So after scrutineering is done that evening, at 5 p.m., all the cars are put into what is called parc fermé. So all the cars are parked where the judges can see them, and you're called for a briefing. At that briefing, the teams are then given the map, the GPS coordinates. So you have to go and plot them on a map.
You're given coordinates.
You're given just coordinates. You're just given coordinates.
And this is 30 degrees north.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
west.
yes, south, north, exactly. So you have to sit down and plot them on a map, because in the morning at 5 o'clock, you will then be driving to where it is now. You will be starting the course that morning, the charge. And there's 13 checkpoints. So the idea, the winner is the person who does, those checkpoints in a straight line in the shortest distance.
Straight
Is
line.
it going to be a straight line
Of
when
course,
you're driving
we all know it's
over
practically
the rocks
exactly
and inside
That's precisely the point. That between here and that checkpoint, which is a straight line, there's like a mountain here. There's virtually anything here in between. So it's how far out you will go to reach that checkpoint.
Go through the mountain.
If you can't go through the mountain, you're really the winner. Yeah.
If you can do what I beg your
If you can go through that mountain, you'll be the winner. Yes, yeah. So if one checkpoint is here and one checkpoint is there, it's deciding. So maybe one can go this way to get here, or go up to here to get there, or far out, or I can go up to Likoni Road or Jogo Road. It's how far you will go to get to the checkpoint, maybe, which is probably across, the highway.
It could just be a kilometer.
In fact, chances are it's usually just 2 or 3, because
but it will take you 4 or 5 kilometers just trying to go around.
Which 4 or 5? It could take you 20. You never know. Yes. I mean, the whole course is on 100 kilometer square, so that's 10 by 10. So in total, it's really not more than 20. But you will take, I mean, the whole competition is on a period of 10 hours. And if after 10 hours, so we start at 7, so if by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock you're not done, I mean, they will really just come and just get you and
tell you that it is okay.
Yeah, it's
How
over.
many people are there in a team?
So there are 6 people in a team. The minimum you can have is 2, that is a driver and a navigator, and then 4 runners. So these runners are the people who are outside the car, because the driver and the navigator are inside the car. The runners are outside the car. So the runners are the people who guide the driver, tell you, kuja pande, kanyaga hapa, here. Because when the driver is in the car, they might not necessarily be able to see that, there's a cliff or, a gorge.
At the edge of a cliff.
Yes, exactly. So you have a maximum of 4 runners. You can have a maximum of 4 runners. You can choose to have 1 or 2. It's really up to you. So, yes, so the runners are outside the car. So they are running, either in front of the car, behind the car, but those are the people who are really guiding the driver. So our team is made up of 6 people.
Why do you need a navigator then? These runners are navigating.
Well, the navigator is a person who will tell you where it is you're going, because the navigator has plotted it on the map to say, we're going north, or we're going east, or we're going west. But then even that east and west, what is on the ground, vitu kwa ground ni different, you see. So you've plotted it here. But what you actually see on the ground, if there's huge boulders and huge rocks, you see, so the runner will be able to see, probably a little bit ahead. If they run ahead of the car, in fact, that's why they're called runners. They can run ahead of the car and say, by the way, that route, I don't think we can pass. Maybe let's, come back a little and, try and navigate through a bush or some other place and get to the destination.
Are you allowed to move anything, the runners?
Well, the boulders are as big as a building, so how much can you move? I mean, they're
grass,
huge.
a fallen tree, things like that.
No,
Must
you can just
leave the environment?
Why would you want to move it?
The point of the question is, must you leave the environment as you found it? Are you navigating through what is already there, or can you move things that can be moved to your advantage?
You can move things to your advantage. So what happens is, part of the money that is raised, every entrant pays what is called the land access fee. The land access fee goes to the local community. So that is,
what percentage is it of the total amount collected?
It is actually all the entrants pay what is called land access fee. LAF it goes to the local community, yes. So every person who's coming in, whether competitors, whether spectators, everybody pays land access fee. Every vehicle that's driving into the charge for the event for that weekend pays land access fee.
How much do you pay for viewing?
As a spectator? As a spectator, you now, depending on if you want to come in as a self-drive, so if you come in, if you drive your car, then you pay the land access fee. Land access fee is 10,000 shillings. Now, if you come in, there's people who do, the overland trucks.
Yeah.
So you can actually just come, pay the operator who's, taking people to the church, because they're licensed operators that do that. So you'll simply just pay, because the operator then will cater for your transport, your accommodation, your food, your meals and everything. So he will already have paid the land access fee because you're just being carried.
Are there vehicles that are not allowed?
Put it this way. There's no vehicle that is not allowed. But the chances of you getting there with, say, for instance, a Vitz are virtually...
I wasn't thinking Vitz.
So nature disallows some vehicles.
No,
yes, you need a
I wasn't thinking Vitz.
Okay.
I was thinking bulldozer.
Okay.
That's the question I want to ask after this break.
break.
Yeah, because can you, your runners, can they come with power saws, cut trees, or they clear path for you? Can you have bulldozers, like he's saying, or wenching a rock off the side and then you pass? Motorsport has, grown and developed in this country to a great extent. The FIA is back with the WRC Safari Rally. We see the Safari Rally and the other circuits taking place. We see now these 4x4s. We see the development. What's driving people towards this? Can we say is it people with more disposable income? Is it people looking for a thrill? What is it? That's
yes. So just as I mentioned, a lot of it has to do with people wanting to go back to nature, to be one with nature, to just to have that freedom, fresh air. Remember during COVID when we were all locked in, our houses, and we couldn't wait for, the place to open up, and a lot of the people who went out actually just went out to, open spaces, green spaces. So a lot of it is driven by that. Now, when you think about some of the places that you can really enjoy yourself, like camping and all that, a lot of those places are rugged. So yes, you'd need a 4x4 to get to some of those destinations if you don't want to simply just go and be in a hotel. Because I think a lot of the people have done, the hotel, the beach, but how much can you do that? And how often can you do that, But the thing about, let's say, for instance, going to a park, every time you go to a park, and I'm talking about this from a tourism perspective, because that's really my sector. Every time you go to a park or any reserve, it is never the same. I have been to Masai Mara countless times, but every time the experience is different. So that's the thing about going, camping or going to the outdoor. So yes, you could say maybe there's, more disposable income, but people, I think, are just looking for something that's different. Doing concerts and music in town, can sometimes just be repetitive. But, you go there, carry a couple of your friends, just go choma nyama outside there. Enjoy, sleep under the stars,
right.
So to speak.
Expose yourself
Yes.
to the vagaries of nature. Is this regulated? From a safety perspective, like anytime, somebody goes into these boondocks, they could be exposing themselves into anything. First of all, they're getting into a forest or a bush. There's also the risk of just them starting off forest fires. There's a risk of them going there and disturbing nature. And all you're trying to do is conservation, and then they go there and they're not doing that. There's a chance of them going there and exposing themselves to this nature, and then a lion just passes by and decides to
say hello.
To say hello, or just to slap you. You shike adabu. So is there any structure that basically governs this?
Absolutely. So every park, every KWS park, of course, has rules and regulations. Even as you enter, all the parks have a sign at the front of the do's and the don'ts that you can do within the park. And of course, starting a fire is the one that you cannot do, whatever the circumstance. Reserves have the same. The forests have the same. So I really don't think that there's a place. Even the conservancies that are private have their own rules and regulations. That there are even places that they've designated where you can camp, because you can't just camp anywhere within that conservancy. There are places that now are designated as probably picnic sites or campsites. So you just can't go and do anything as you so wish. Of course, litter has been a major issue, and partly. Also why the rules for Rhino Charge changed, and now you can't just wake up and just attend the event as you so wish, was because of that. It needed to be regulated. There was a lot of litter that was happening all over the place. So now it is important that you register. So once the portal is opened, you can register as a spectator to attend, and you have to be attached to a camp operator. So that then that camp operator, the responsibility falls on that camp operator, that the people who are within your camp, you know, were they, did they litter, were they making noise, did they cut trees and stuff like that, so that then we are able to leave the environment just as we found it, or better than we found it.
But this is working very well for an organization such as the Rhino Arc, which has been there for many years, so they have experience. But then there are all these other, small groups and small events that come up. How are they governed? How do we make sure that they're doing all these kind of things?
So last weekend there was an event, the 254x4, that happened in Athi River in Lukenya. And same thing. So there's an entrance fee that it happened at the Athi Kapiti Conservancy. And there's an entrance fee, and that entrance fee goes into ensuring that, there are marshals, there are people who are walking around. There was places that, you couldn't throw litter. In fact, you couldn't throw litter at all. So, there was bins. So you had to throw your bins there because, we want to be able to come back to this place and enjoy what is happening at this place. So it is a culture that the people need to be educated, and a lot of awareness needs to be created. But I think now, by and large, you can see Kenyans have become more aware that that you can't throw litter anywhere. In fact, I like the fact that for KWS, to enter any park, you can't come in with a plastic bottle, So that way, come with your own bottles, and you can't throw it anywhere. So, if we can then get, especially issues on plastic, just going across the board to literally everywhere, I think we'll have made a lot more strides.
Every time I hear of Rhino Charge and I look at what they have done with the education of the communities around the places they are seeking to conserve, it speaks very loudly of how it is the citizenry can actually go about the business of doing something that really needs doing and hasn't been done. I have deliberately left the word government from my conversation. Now, with every good thing, there's always the idea of how do you expand this beyond the borders of where it's currently at. Now, in the years that Rhino Charge has been in existence, how many parts of this country has it been to?
Several. It's been to Rift Valley, it's been to Kajiado, it's been to Samburu. Yes.
We're still in the Rift Valley. Go on.
Okay, when I said Rift Valley, I meant like the Baringo Cabernet side.
We're still in the Rift Valley.
Okay, yeah. So let's just say yes, the more of the northern part where.
The question I want to ask is there a specific type of terrain that you're looking for? And if that is the case, then it can only be found in certain places.
That is true.
And then question number 2, would it then not be Rhino Charge if you found terrain that wasn't quite as mountainous and tortuous and rocky, and yet still trying?
Yes, and I'll give a good example. The Mount Elgon Charge, 4x4 Charge, happens in October in Trans Nzoia County, in Mount Elgon. So that particular charge, if you look at it, the difference, in fact, between it and the Rhino Charge, it's in a wet kind of environment. So that one is a purely muddy affair. It's a very, very muddy affair. So a lot of these, so there's been smaller versions of, you could say, like the Rhino Charge. Like even what happened last weekend at Athi. That's like a mini kind of a charge. And it happened in Lukenya, So it's very rocky and hilly there, So it kind of gives you the same kind of experience, but at a smaller scale. The Mount Elgon 4x4 is also another one. I think even there's one that happens in Nandi also. It's in wet. The ecosystem is very different from the dry areas that we've talked about in the plains. So a lot of that one is it's a very muddy affair.
Okay, now I want to come to the vehicles. You said there were categories.
Yes.
Okay. They are the ones which are not enhanced. They're the ones which are enhanced. They're the ones which are very enhanced.
Yes.
Now, even the one which is not enhanced actually is enhanced.
True.
Because you actually can't go to the showroom or a lot and say that one, and then you.
That is true.
What does it cost to get it to that first stage where it's basic in terms of Kenyan shillings? Or is it one of these things one doesn't want to talk about?
Well, I can tell you, you can't even put a figure to it, to be very honest, because I mean, even for us, we're still doing things. Last week, we're changing our fuel injection system. So, every day you're trying to, put in more money. So, like, that is not something that we had envisaged before. We hadn't foreseen that. But now, because of, the times that we've, done our practice sessions, then we're having problems. So we're saying, let's enhance this. So let's just say it's a moving target. It really is a moving target. Let's just say
that talking about money sometimes is difficult.
That as well. That is.
And talking about amounts, that may appear to be obscene.
Yes.
So we will leave that at that.
Are there 4x4 challenges that are held in the region or across the region? Like, you see the way we see in the rally cars. So there's the East African Classic, there's a Safari Rally, and then we have Kenyan drivers, Ugandan drivers, there's a Uganda Rally, something like that. Have you ever participated in a 4x4 challenge outside of Kenya?
I am not aware of any that happens across. I think in the region, because even for a lot of these events, we do have our neighbors coming to participate in these events, So, people come from, all over the African continent. Like, the Rhino Charge, people come in from very far, up to Australia. Of course, South Africans are just as many. From the UK. But even for the other smaller ones, like even Mount Elgon, people are coming from Uganda. People are coming from across the borders. So probably we could be at a more advanced stage to then create this.
You're in the tourism space.
Yes.
So this is a product.
Yes.
It's a tourism product that can be packaged as a tourism product.
Okay.
Right? Is there any conversation of that sort? Like saying, we have all these 4x4 off-road challenges, encouraging the groups to set up the challenges and then inviting the tourists enthusiasts, who are those adrenaline junkies, just to come and know that Kenya is a place that they can do this?
I would imagine that would be a conversation that the Rhino Arc Trust would have, but I do know that.
Why not your Bund Rovers? Why not the others?
Okay. Yeah. In fact, Bund Rovers as a club, we have partnered with the Land Rover Club in Uganda. And we've also done a few trips. We've visited the club in Tanzania, the Land Rover Club in Tanzania. So at least for us as a Land Rover Club, we have had partnerships with our neighbors at the same. But for the Rhino Charge, what I know is, they do have people, competitors coming from all over the world to do it. But I am also aware that KTB and Magical Kenya have given sponsorship, at least in years past, when things were not as bad as they are now. They've given sponsorship for the event, whether it is sponsoring one of the checkpoints, but they have been there on the ground. So maybe it would be, as you mentioned, to, make it bigger and take it out and actually just put it as one of the products that, as we sell Bush and Beach, we can as well sell it under Adventure.
That's my point. All right.
Under Adventure.
You are in that space.
Yeah.
You are in both spaces, right? There's an opportunity here for KTB to get aware, to see this as a product, to package it as a product, and then to help local organizers and local entrepreneurs to create the product that attracts.
That's true. We as a team...
What would it take? What would it take, for example, to get a Magical Kenya sponsorship, or Magical Kenya actually just adding it into the list of the things that you can come and do? When you come to Magical Kenya, this is what you can do. Go to the beach, go to the parks, visit communities, enjoy the culture, but also go outdoors, sleep under the sun, drive into the rocks.
Incidentally, we as a team have actually approached Magical Kenya. We have approached KTB. I especially been in that space. I said these are one of the people that I am looking forward to have them sponsor us. So, they can sponsor us as a team, or even sponsor maybe to come in as a sponsor at the Rhino Arc level. But yes, I get what you're saying, that it should be included as one of the things on the calendar. Yes, and probably we can have that conversation, I guess, also with Rhino Arc. Yes. And
I think it's interesting, because then it's something that starts out as a hobby, then could actually grow into something that then would bring about an element of responsibility when then it came to marketing the country within the country. Unfortunately, a lot of the marketing that happens for Kenya is looking for tourists to come from outside the country in, whereby there's so much that can be seen and experienced here in Kenya for Kenyans. And it sounds, when we talk about the money that you have to spend on getting it's elite. It is. but then there's so much to be seen
Absolutely.
around the country. So what is a hobby then also could be a responsibility when it comes to then marketing Kenya within Kenya. And then one must also ask, would that be something that you would be able to walk hand on this side hobby, hand on the other side education, in terms of what really Kenya does have to offer, and taking it away from, you've been to different parts of the country, how much further can you go and have that, have the eyeballs of Kenyans in terms of what's really available here made then available to them?
In fact, the beauty about a lot of all these challenges, they all have a conservation and an environmental angle to it. As I mentioned, the Mount Elgon 4x4 has been very fundamental in greening that part of the country, and simply talking to communities in why it is necessary for them to plant trees and just take care of the environment, so that it's not just people coming from the outside to come and tell you that this is what you need to do, but also realizing that you as a local community need to then plant trees, whether they're indigenous, but just take care, because this is something that it will affect all of us in the long run. But as you rightly say, it is something that all Kenyans should get involved. And as I said, a long time, many Kenyans used to attend the Rhino Church. Before the rules, changed and then made it a bit restrictive. It was an event that was attended by thousands and thousands of people. I mean, people would just wake up and, where is it? It's in Kabarnet, and people just wake up and drive there. And as I said, and a lot of what you're paying for was going into conservation. So at the domestic front, I think Kenyans do know. Maybe along the way, people forgot about it. But yes, there's work to be done in that area. I agree.
Do you have people coming from outside the country to participate in the Rhino Church? Very
many. A lot of those entrants for a lot of those cars are foreigners. Yes,
they don't have Rhino Church where they come from.
Probably, I don't.
Well, I know they don't have rhinos. That's for sure.
Kangaroo Church.
No, I think our terrain is kind of good. Yes, for this kind of event, because people come from the UK. I think the UK have something. Maybe I wouldn't say similar, but it is. But it's not as challenging as ours. Ours is really challenging. So people come in, and Australia is very big on 4x4, but you'll find Australians also come for this event. So
I'm still stuck on this. I'm just seeing the opportunity, let me not call it lost, the opportunity here for the Ministry of Sports to latch onto and actually see that this is something that can grow into a big thing. Yes, there are people who are investing, just like the cars that Ian Duncan drives in the Safari Rally cannot be compared to cars that other motorists drive in the rally, but they are different classes. But there's what it brings. There's what that rallying does to the country, to the psyche, to the marketing of the country, to everything else, to the development of a sport. Same thing. Winnie and her friends could afford to do extra modification for their vehicles, but we'll come in there and watch and see and learn and enjoy the terrain. And it's a big opportunity, I think. Perhaps
that is why, at this point in time, we are there, and this could be the time that then it then comes out to that space, because, maybe prior, up until then, it wasn't, maybe it wasn't looked at from that angle. So, yes, so maybe we are the ones who will then get it out into those spaces and get... as you say, the Ministry of Sports. I wouldn't really call it, because you see, it hasn't been taken as a sports event. It's taken as
a conservation event.
Exactly. It's a
Where is the Ministry of Environment, of Culture, of Sports, of Tourism? I mean, look at it, all those things.
Cross-cutting.
Yes.
Is there any part of this country where there are no vehicles?
In Lamu, for instance.
There's one vehicle, but the point I'm trying to make is this. Well, if you go to Okoh, that is the mainland, you will find.
Yes.
When Eric talked about sports, this kicked off an idea in my mind, and I was thinking about the school sports that we have. Every region has their sports, then the winners come to the national. And it's a big thing. Now, if you want to grow an interest, you start it in a local area with what they can manage.
Yeah.
That's why I asked about the vehicles.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be this monster of 4x4. No, it just has to be. So they're enthusiasts with what they have and what they can afford. Imagine the sort of competition if it started and every region sort of like has their thing. And you know that if you do this, you get on to the next level. You go to the sub-county or the ward. I'm simply thinking of growing a sport and using a model that has worked with other things so that you grow that interest. Because enthusiasts for something like the Rhino Charge are all over the country. They're just limited. Because someone feels, I can't afford a humongous 4x4, so I'm out of it. What if you afford something that they can? Something that is manageable at whatever level?
I guess it's an opportunity. It is an opportunity.
It's staring at us because really, the moment you make it very, very elitist and it's only for a certain
class,
then suddenly the opportunity
is lost.
Your lockouts.
Yes, because that person with the teeny-weeny little car will not have a teeny-weeny little car all their lives. They let them use that one to improve and to grow the enthusiasm so they can do more.
In fact, that is precisely the reason. My team, we're the most ordinary. We don't come from rich families. We don't have access, to the kind of monies that some of these teams have. We are very ordinary, and that was the reason that we wanted to come in and show that even basic people, and we are crowdfunding,
Right.
friends, family, we are knocking doors, asking sponsors, asking a lot of all these, Kenyan companies, come and support us, as your fellow Kenyans, just to show that this can be done by what you'd call, ordinary people, just doing something ordinary. Yes. So that's the whole idea.
It's a Patrick Njiro moment. This is what Patrick Njiro did to rally. So it opened up and people thought, okay, all right.
I can do this.
So you can we can see beyond Voldegard and we can see our own Patrick Njiro driving that Kadatsan and finishing the rally and feeling our guy finished the rally. And it's a big thing. So it's a big opportunity. A message for you from Siaya County: bring the Rhino Charge or bring the 4x4 sport to Siaya Share.
Okay.
Another one to bring it to Trans Nzoia, and the question is that how far across the country, can you go? So
well, if
can
there's
you go to
space,
Siaya? Can you
if
go
there's
to Trans
space
Nzoia?
and there's a
Mount Elgon
terrain,
is in Trans Nzoia, is it?
Yes, Mount Elgon is in Trans Nzoia. Yes, if there's space and there's a terrain, why not? I guess it can go anywhere.
Any part of this country where there's no space.
There's a lot of places that there's no
Like
space.
where, for instance?
I mean, all this
like
housing plan that you guys are trying to do is going to take houses.
Hata Nairobi kuna space.
I think Nairobi kuna space.
Ya kufanya Rhino Charge.
Have you
No.
tried to go to Mombasa Road when there's traffic? That's a terrain, my friend.
Or rather, the potholes on our roads are enough for you to enter 4x4. Yeah.
How can people support you then?
Good. So people can support us. We have a pay bill number. It is 222-111. And the account number, as I said, we are account number 50. Our account number is 50-50-50-0 or 50-50-500. That's our account number. We are really appealing to Kenyans. Please come support us. We are Kenyan just like you. Yes, please support us. That way, then we make sure that this sport is something that we can all get involved in, we can all do. And remember, whatever it is you support us with goes to conservation.
Okay.
So that's the most important. So 222-111, account number 50-50-500.
All right. Say hello to your what are you? Are you the navigator or
Yes,
the driver?
so I am the navigator. The driver is one, Agnes
So you have
Mwangi.
to know how to read maps.
Yes, I am reading how to know how to read the maps.
First
exactly.
of all, getting the GPS coordinates.
which I'll get the night before.
And this is something
This
degrees
is,
north
yes,
and minutes.
exactly. Those things that you learnt in
Right.
geography in school.
Southwest.
What are contours? What are the landscapes? Those things.
Those ones.
Those lines.
You put all of them onto a map.
Yes,
And
then you draw, yes, exactly, how you're going to go, whether you're going to go clockwise, whether you're going to go anti-clockwise, where the checkpoints are, because you have to report to each of the checkpoints. Yes, I mean,
Within the shortest time.
within the shortest time.
Within
yes.
10 hours.
Yes, so Agnes Mwangi is our driver. She also drives a Land Rover, a Puma. Yes, so Agnes, and I know she's listening. I am
Agnes,
the navigator.
you navigator, and then you've
and
got...
then we have two runners.
Mention them by name, please.
Yes, that's why I said Agnes Mwangi is the
And then-
driver.
okay,
in 3
then.
seconds.
Yes, and I am the navigator, Winnie Maru, and then we have Minnie Gitao, a runner, and Elizabeth Wanjiko, another runner. Yes.
All the best to all of
Thank
you ladies.
very, very much.
And thank you very much for joining us today.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.